Despite several military raids in the Tano Anya Forest Reserve, illegal mining activities persist with more intruders encroaching on the protected land. Clean Jobs, the legal concessionaire mandated to protect the reserve, recently sponsored a military operation that led to the seizure of 19 excavators. In a fresh raid this Tuesday, the company has once again moved to clamp down on the activity, this time seizing 4 more excavators and arresting some suspects. Well, before we bring you details of that story, I'll take you to the court where my colleague Latif is on standby to bring us some update on what's happening on the possible removal of the Chief Justice. Now, first, Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayine has dismissed suggestions by his predecessor, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, that President Mahama should suspend ongoing consultations regarding the possible removal of the Chief Justice. According to Dr. Ayine, such a move will contradict the law, which prohibits interference with the execution of constitutional duties. Former Attorney General Dame, speaking to journalists at the last Gen sitting, expressed the view that President Mahama ought to halt the consultation process he has initiated with the Council of State, now citing pending processes filed at the Supreme Court. However, responding to questions from my colleague Latif Idrisu at the Supreme Court on Wednesday, that'll be today, following yet another adjournment of the injunction application, Dr. Ayine insisted that the President's consultation process constitutes the exercise of a constitutional duty.
Well, I haven't spoken with the President yet, and I cannot give any definitive answer to the question whether the consultation will continue.
What's your advice to him because of the
the President and the Republic are my clients. I will not advise my client publicly.
The last time the former Attorney General spoke, he said he expects nothing but the President to hold on the processes. Is that what is happening?
Well, he has filed an application in court. The court is here to make an order. So if he says that the President must hold on, is he saying that the court has already granted an order in respect of which the President, must not continue the process, right? First of all, he has to understand that this is the performance of a constitutional duty, right? And the law is very clear that you cannot enjoin the performance of a constitutional or public obligation. And so, for me, I don't see the point that he's trying to make by saying that the President must hold on to the process of consultation.
His argument is that because of what is happening here at the Supreme Court, the President ought to hold on.
Well, that is why I have said the President is performing a constitutional duty, and the law is very clear that you cannot enjoin the performance of a public obligation.
What do you make of today's adjournment? The adjournment?
No, the adjournment is to May 6th. So, because one of the panel members was not, was unavoidably absent, and so the court has adjourned it to the 6th of May.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has adjourned hearing of the injunction applications challenging President Mahama's move to potentially remove Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo from office. The case, which was expected to proceed today, has been rescheduled to May 6. In a brief ruling, chairperson of the 5-member panel, Her Ladyship Justice Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, indicated the adjournment was due to unavoidable reasons. Now, our legal affairs correspondent, Latif Idrisu, joins us via Zoom for more. Latif, beyond the reason that the professor, Her Ladyship, had said, what more could be part of the reason why they adjourned today? If you can hear me, Latif.
So, prior to the hearing of this matter, we saw the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, and the former Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, called into conclave to have a meeting with the justices of the Supreme Court or members of this particular panel hearing the case. It took them a few minutes in there, and then when they come out, we picked the information that one of the panel members was not available And so the likelihood was that, as I reported on desk earlier, that the case might be adjourned, and that was what turned out to be the case. When the panel convened, the chairperson of the panel, her ladyship, Justice Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, made public reason why the case had to be adjourned. She mentioned that, and I'm quoting her, due to unavoidable problems that we have had, I'm sorry, the case has to be adjourned, unquote. And so that was the reason that was given. And we must also point out, we can mention the number of judges on this particular case and who was absent, reason why the case itself has been adjourned. So on this particular panel, you have His Ladyship Justice Ernest Yaw-Jewu, His Ladyship Justice Richard Ajay Frimpong, Her Ladyship Justice Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, who I must say was chairperson for today's. We also have His Lordship Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu Asiedu and His Lordship Justice Yao Dako Asare. So His Lordship Justice Samuel Kwame Adibu Asiedu was the one who was not available for today's hearing, and the speculation is that that's the reason why the case has been adjourned to May 6th. MFA.
Seen the reaction of the Attorney General, but tell us the reaction also on the lawyers for the petitioner.
Well, unfortunately, we couldn't get hold of lawyer for the petitioner. That is the former Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Dame. He didn't avail himself for interview, but we managed to get the response from Dominic Ayine on the comments made by Godfred Yeboah-Dame at the last adjourned date. The position of Godfred Yeboah-Dame is that because processes have been filed here at the Supreme Court, hearing is already rolling out, the expectation is that the president must suspend the consultation process. In his response, Dr. Ayine, as you played earlier, he has made clear that the law also states clearly that you cannot enjoin someone who is undertaking or performing a constitutional duty. And the processes, the consultation process that has been initiated by the president is a constitutional duty which is being performed by the president. And so one cannot enjoin that process. Even though this case is here at the Supreme Court, the president has to go on with his consultation as far as these processes to potentially remove the Chief Justice from office is concerned. MFA.
Okay, well, before I let you go, anything else happening in the courts today?
At the Supreme Court, so before this case, there were two other cases, but it's not of public interest, so we wouldn't want to go into details as far as those particular cases are concerned.
Thank you, Lateef. Away from the court and still on the Chief Justice. Now, Chief Justice of Ghana, Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokono, has announced sweeping reforms to Ghana's jury system as the judiciary officially opens the 2025 Criminal Assizes, a nationwide session to commence trials on indictments. Speaking at the formal opening at the Law Complex in Accra, Chief Justice revealed that the pool of eligibility jurors has now been significantly expanded to include a broader cross-section of Ghanaians, especially from the private sector. According to her, the move ends the long-standing practice of relying predominantly on clerical staff from public institutions and the education sector, an arrangement that over the years led to the same individuals serving in juries or on juries for extended periods.
Under Section 208 of Act 30, a person convicted of treason or felony or an offense involving dishonesty is disqualified to serve as a juror unless the person has obtained a free pardon. Over the years, and strangely, the justice sector seemed to have become constrained only to a small pool from which jurors were chosen. This pool seems to have become confined to clerical staff in the civil and or public service institutions. and in a few instances, officers from the education sector. The yearly revision of lists required under Section 213 of Act 30 has seemed not to be thorough. This has caused the untenable problem of a particular juror being involved in several cases in different courts at the same time. Some of the jurors were on jury duty for years, and in some cases over a decade, making them almost professional jurors, and not the lay group with fresh exposure to legalities that they were needed to be. After much brainstorming, a team assisted me to propose solutions and reforms to make our jury system more efficient and results-oriented. In order to get the buy-in of all stakeholders, the team went on to do media and stakeholder engagements on national and regional platforms. As we open assizes today, jury lists have been expanded to include all citizens qualified by law, including many individuals in the private sector. Over time, steps will be taken to further expand the pool from which jurors will be selected. With these reforms, it is our expectation in the judiciary that the time of citizens engaged in jury duty not being used efficiently will change.
In order to ensure the smooth implementation of the criminal assizes, Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo announced key measures
to be conducted. The following administrative directions already exist for presiding judges and registrars of high courts where trials on indictment are to be held to assist in speedy and effective trials. Please ensure that under no circumstances is any juror placed on the list of more than one court, thereby eliminating the possibility of any juror being involved in cases pending in more than one court. Trials are to be conducted from day to day, all day, such that the courts in the criminal sessions will be able to determine one case from start to finish within a few days before beginning the hearing of another. Judges are respectfully required to comply strictly with the practice direction, effective case completion planning strategies of 2019, found in the 2017-2020 1 SCGLR 422, and the practice direction on jury trials, which came into effect in May 2024. Since disclosure is mandatory by the decision of the Supreme Court in Eugene Bafuboni versus the Republic, 2017-2021 SCGLR 327, and the timing of disclosure has been held to be important in determining whether or not adequate facilities have been afforded the accused person to be able to put up a defense. It is expected that the prosecution will be directed to file full disclosures in the cases before the jury is empaneled in order to avoid delays by keeping jurors on hand without actually doing any work. The timeous filing of full disclosures would even inform accused persons or their lawyers of the opportunity to take advantage of plea bargaining.
And I'll take you back to the Tano Anua Forest Reserve, where illegal mining activities persist, with more intruders encroaching on the protected land. Clean Jobs, the legal concessionaire mandated to protect the reserve, reportedly sponsored a military operation that led to the seizure of 19 excavators. In a fresh raid this Tuesday, the company has once again moved to clamp down on the activities, this time seizing 4 more excavators and arresting some suspects.
When we arrived here, they had already taken all their belongings and left. We met them just as we got here. So we are now burning down their makeshift structures. We managed to track their equipment to the roadside. So from here, we will head there and retrieve them. When we got here, they had already moved the equipment into town. We have identified where they took it, and we've instructed the military to guard the location while we work on arrangements to transport the equipment. We are currently burning down their structures.
Now, these developments have reignited concerns about the future of the forest reserve and whether enough is being done to protect it. Now, joining us on phone is David Thomas, Communications Director at Clean Jobs, to give us more insight. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Now, first, let's talk about the very recent one. Can you walk us through the details of this arrest and the seizure of the equipment?
So yesterday we were again informed by our security that more illegal activity was taking place. So therefore we spoke to our security forces and we went into the forest. They were in two different camps. When they saw us coming, the actual workers, as it were ran away. So we weren't able to arrest people physically, but what we were able to do, we were able to take control of five excavators.
Okay.
3 of those excavators have been moved to the district assembly compound, and the other 2 that are in the forest as we speak, we have taken the control boards off, and we are arranging for load beds to come and collect them, to take them, to remove them from the forest as well. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. In your estimation, in that particular area, since you mentioned that some of them had to run away, how many people are you estimating that if you revisited again, you just may find them and arrest them?
My estimation, I believe it could have been between 20 and 30 people.
Okay. Now, well, despite your recent clampdowns, illegal miners continue really to invade the reserve. What do you think is happening, really?
Well, obviously they know the land is rich. Sort of our problem has been in terms of the regulatory framework. It's taken us a lot of time to get all the documents in place, and therefore we've only been able to put a skeleton sort of security in the area. But now that all the documents are in place, for example, it took over 9 months for us to finalise the EPA. And therefore that leaves a sort of void whereby the people can come and do their illegal activity. But now everything is correct, and therefore, with the support of the government and us, we've been able to engage the military. And the military now has a presence there. But the only way that this is sort of going to come under control, there has to be yes, we've got ASTID, but there has to be a military presence continually there, looking at the area, letting them know that the military are there. Again, the government has been very supportive. They've helped us to do this. But again, it's taken us time because of the regulatory framework and the efficiency of that. And we believe that, if we are there permanently, it will help to stop the illegal activity because we have a permanent presence there. So now we're constructing, our offices, the site is being put in order. Right. And once we are there and they know that we are there, hopefully that will discourage what is taking place.
Right. Thomas, thank you. Thank you for bringing us updates. Now, still on illegal mining, now Chairman of Parliament Select Committee on Lands and Natural Resources, Collins Dauda, is recommending the constitution of a permanent military task force specifically dedicated to fight illegal mining on Ghana's water bodies and forest reserves. He observes the raft of measures adopted in the past have failed to yield the needed results, describing them as knee-jerk reactions. The Asutifi South legislator believes the Special Security Force, whose sole duty will be to ward off operations of the gold miners, could salvage the already deteriorating rivers and streams of the country. Emmanuel Bright-Keku reports.
At least 70% of Ghana's rivers and streams, despite flowing in their usual quietude, are the loudest seen to observe traveling across the country. Their abrupt change from a once colorless and refreshing natural resource into a milky sludge is not an elusive sight to behold. Rivers like Ankobra, Pra, Often, the black and white voter are now heavily polluted with residues from illegal mining operations on water bodies. The situation continues to deprive many communities along these water resources access to potable water for drinking and domestic purposes. Aquatic life is now endangered.
Almost a basket full, very short and nice. But nowadays, the fish has become long and the fin have been changed.
The Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, and the Environmental Protection Act 2025, Act 1124, prohibits mining in or near river bodies. But the vicious quest of the illegal miners for a source of livelihood compels them to defy the laws at the peril of both their lives and others. The water bodies aren't the only natural resource at the mercy of the illicit activity. The country's forest reserves are now targets. Successive governments instituted a raft of strategic measures to halt illegal mining operations, including occasional military raids, but they seem to have failed. Describing such measures as knee-jerk, Chairman of Parliament's Select Committee on Lands and Natural Resource, Collins Dauda, says the government must change its strategies in fighting the canker.
Galamsey that take place in water bodies, like rivers, where you have people mining directly in the bed of rivers. We cannot accept it. Illegal operators who enter our forest reserves to mine illegally, that cannot be acceptable. The practice where when we hear there is an illegal operation in Tanofin Forest Reserve and we deploy a task force, they go in there for a number of days, they hide. When the task force leaves, they go back to the side. You can never resolve this matter this way. That, for me, I describe as a knee-jerk reaction to solving a problem.
The Asutifi South MP is proposing the establishment of a permanent military task force to fight the illegal activities on Ghana's water bodies and forest reserves.
And to deal with it, my view is that we can have a unit of the military, deploy them to be permanently around the river bodies, permanently stationed in the forest reserves. Nobody would dare do it.
Away from illegal mining, Parliament's Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism has begun a working visit to some selected industries. The committee, led by the chairman and MP for Central Town, Alexander Gabi Hotoje, is currently at Zonda, Ghana for a tour and some engagements. My colleague James Aveji is with the team and joins us with more. James, what exactly is the purpose of the tour? We'll try and... James, please unmute.
Can you hear me, MFA?
Yes, yes.
MFA, I was saying that the Trade and Industry Committee has today begun a tour of industries across the country. And they have started in Chema, with Zonda Company, who are plant and assembly plants of cars here in Ghana. Now, according to chairman of the committee, Gabi Alexander Hotoje, he says the committee's strategy is to do this to see which the companies or industries government can help in order to push the job employment agenda as well as the government flagship 24-hour economy project. And so in the interaction between the committee and managers of the company is asking for tax waivers in order to clear their raw materials at the thermal port anytime they bring in car parts to assemble in the country. The committee chair, interestingly, together with his ranking, which is from the minority, has promised to do everything it will take in order to push the agenda of industries through Parliament so that the they can offer those tax waivers to them. You will recall that last Parliament, tax waivers was a big subject where the minority who are in government now fought vehemently to reject some over 350 to 400 million US tax waivers. But today they are promising that, and so they've been touring some of the assembly plants, also cautioning the company against discrimination of Ghanaian employees that they are working with. So that's currently what is going on in Tema here. It is unclear which other company they would be visiting from here, Mbepa.
Thank you, James Aveji, and definitely James will bring us every detail that will happen, which they would be visiting. But away from that, as Ghana braces for another rainy season, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, is shifting focus on relief to readiness, with flood-prone areas like Kwaburi East and Asakware Mampo municipalities under watch. NADMO says prevention pays and is training emergency responders, health workers and local leaders to act before disaster strikes. For today's Climate Focus, Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports on the proactive steps being taken to protect lives and reduce the toll of floods in 2025.
Every year, floods destroy lives and property across Ghana, but this year, the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, says it is taking no chances. As the rains begin, the message is clear: prevention pays.
During when the storm is on and people are running for their lives, you want to bring health service personnel.
Charlotte Norman is the Director for Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Reduction at NADMO.
I think it's important that we do simulation exercise, because without simulations it's going to be very difficult to identify the gaps in the system in terms of collaboration, in terms of coordination. Simulations bring these out. Sometimes if you're not doing a simulation and the real issue happens, you would think that you know what to do, but then everybody is there, the stakeholders are all there, and you don't know who to take what action.
Flood-prone areas like Kwaburi East and Asakware Mampo municipalities have been identified as high-risk zones in Greater Kumasi. In 2024 alone, Kwaburi East recorded 17 disaster cases.
Last year, for instance, we have about 17 disaster cases comprising of fire disasters, commercial disasters, and then collapsing of buildings and what have you. And we have about number of children who are also displaced, and then some houses which are also displaced.
But this year, NADMO is turning response into readiness. For Charlotte Norman and her team, it is not just about reacting when disaster strikes, but about making sure every actor knows their role before the first drop of rain.
I see that in all your delivery, you spoke about what you want to do, etc., etc., but you didn't give specific time. Remember, we have only 48 hours for the disaster to possibly strike. And so you have to set timelines. The communication that you are given, how long is that going to be? You know, how long is it going to take you to meet somebody, MC or NADMO, whatever it is? Just give timelines so that you know that, because it can happen that the whole day, you look, this person is not in this one, before you finish that, 24 hours is gone.
The training brings together all critical agencies, NADMO, National Fire Service, Police, Health, and local authorities, preparing them to respond quickly and save lives. With the rainy season already underway, the time, the organization says, to act is now, because in the face of disaster, prevention really does pay. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
You're watching News Today. Still to come in our Breaking the Fire Cycle series, we head to the Techiman market where traders fear another disaster as safety promises remain unfulfilled. Please stay.
It's now time for business here on Joy News Today. My name is Winston Taki. Now to our first business story. The Secretary General Ghana has rewarded 40 customers in the first mini draw of its ongoing deposit and drive promo. In an interview with Joy Business, the Managing Director of SG Ghana, Hakeem Ozani, emphasized the bank's commitment to supporting small and medium-sized enterprises with flexible financing solutions while encouraging culture of savings. The initiative, which was launched in February, is designed to encourage a culture of savings among Ghanaians while offering exciting incentives for customers. Speaking at the event, the bank's managing director, Hakeem Ozani, emphasized the broader goal behind the promotion.
This deposit and drive promotion is an initiative that we take, I would say, regularly. Here is once again to promote the saving culture in Ghana for our clients, knowing that SG Ghana is fundamentally sticking to its mission of financing the economy of Ghana through financing of individuals, of SMEs, small medium enterprises, large local corporates, government, etc. SG Ghana has the highest loan to deposit ratio in the industry, which means that all the deposits that we get from our customers are dedicated to do financing of the growth of the economy of Ghana. This first draw that you have done today is a mini draw. You have seen that 40 of our clients have won very beautiful and very amazing gifts, but there will be another mini draw, and then the last one, the biggest one, is to win the car that you see here, and this one will be in September.
Obed Hoya is the general manager for retail business at SG Ghana.
A lot of times when such promos are launched, there's a tendency to think that, oh, maybe there's some unevenness or some kululu somewhere. But this is just to show you, to manifest that what we are saying is real. You saw the draw by NLA, which was done. You saw customers being called and their reaction to the gifts that they have won. And also the spread. We make sure that at least across our network, we had a good spread where people across the country were winning.
The campaign will feature a second mini draw in the coming weeks, leading up to a grand finale where one customer would drive away in a brand new Toyota RAV4. Now, away from that, there are calls for government to foster relationships with other Francophone countries. The move, according to reps from the Francophone community, is key to support Ghana's diversify its economy. Here's more in this report.
The float was to showcase Ghana's commitment to foster relationship with the Francophone community. It served as the visual representation of its commitment, highlighting Ghana's active participation in global Francophonie community engagement.
As part of the Francophonie Week, we had a tour to the principal streets of Accra to get our population aware that Ghana is now a member of Francophonie, which also gives us other opportunities as the other Francophone countries, culture, investments in our youth, opportunities of commerce, and then also expanding. We have always spoken about Ghana being surrounded by Francophone countries. Well, today we are Francophone too, and we believe that it's an opportunity for us to showcase and bring many more people on board.
National correspondent for Francophone at the Ministry of Education, Chichi Kondo, called on government to leverage on some opportunities provided by the French communities to support Ghana's economy.
In 2006, now we journey through that period up to last year where we were given a full membership status, which means that now Ghana is a full member of La Francophonie, and this is the time for Ghana also to showcase itself, make sure that indeed our democratic values, good governance, democracy, sustainable development are being adhered to and then also being put on international scene. Ghana, as we all know, is a country that is being attracted by so many people because of how we go about our things.
That's all for business. My name is Winston Taki. We have more news for you after this break. Stay tuned.